Welcome to this session on creating a user-defined node type. So now that we've created the geometry for the node type, we need to actually generate it. Now we want to be able to place this geometry by selecting a polygon in our GC model. So we need all of that geometry to be generated from our polygon, and we can see here on the graph that it is. I can see here that none of the other nodes here are linked back to those initial 4 points or the base CS. They all in some way link back to that initial polygon. So I'm going to select the Generate Node Type icon, and I'm simply going to begin to fill out this dialog. So I'm going to give this node type a name that's the same as naming a cell in a cell library. So we're going to name this crossbar, and you'll note here this dialog is divided into two parts, the input properties and the output properties. So we're going to select an input property, and we'll just use this icon here and select that from the model. Let me drag this over here, because the only node we're going to need to select here is the polygon node, because everything else will then be generated from that. So I'm going to select this Select from Model icon, and I'll come down to my graph and select the Polygon 1 node. We'll see, let me drag this up so we can see our graph. You can see all the other nodes are highlighted. The green indicate output properties and the blue indicate input properties. So we can see that in the dialog here. Our sliders, the start diameter and the end diameter, will be additional inputs on this node. And what gets created from this node will be the point, the line, the crossbar, and the surface glass. Now we're going to do a couple of things here before we actually create it. So these property names here is what will actually show up on the node. So we may want to rename this Polygon 1, and for instance, maybe just call it Polygon. We'll leave the start diameter and end diameter. That's pretty self-explanatory. And these data types indicate the type of data that that property will look for. So it's going to need to be a polygon. The start and end diameter need to be doubles or real numbers. Now you can see there's other attributes here that we could check. For instance, when we select a polygon in our model, we'd like to be able to select the entire surface, all the polygons that we created. And that means we need that particular input to be replicatable, meaning I can select more than one. We could also, on these sliders, we could put these in as optional inputs and then put a default value in. So we could say, well, the initial value might be 0.75 and 1. And then because it's optional, you'll be able to change those on input, but there'll be that default there. Now, when we look at our output properties, one thing we might want to do is indicate that some of these are constructions. So for instance, that point center is really a construction. The lines we created are construction. In other words, we don't want to actually see that geometry when we place this node in our model. What we want to see are the cones that make the crossbar and the surface that creates the glass. And we can go ahead and turn on this lock in each constituent node's current color level and symbology. And then we want to store this generated assembly file in our GC environment, meaning that it will become a node that's available in any GC file that I make within this particular work set. And now I'll go ahead and select OK. And that has generated that node type. And in fact, if I open up my node types here, you can see I have one generated node type, which is named crossbar. So the node type is created. In the next session, we'll actually place our new generated node type in the GC model.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.